Hey, if you want to run Google Ads for your local business, having the right campaign settings is really, really important if you want to generate more leads. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through the campaign settings that I like to use for my campaigns to generate thousands and thousands of leads for my local business clients. So if you're new here, my name is Chris. I cover all things Google Ads and local lead generation. So if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's jump into the settings for this campaign and I'll walk you through what I like to use. All right, so first things first, obviously we need to go to the settings themselves. So make sure you have your campaign selected, go to campaigns, go to settings right here, and we can start walking through the settings on this particular campaign. I think it's really important to note before we actually get into this is that if you're going to be running Google Ads for a local business, you want to make sure that you are running a search network campaign. So if the little icon next to your campaign does not look like this, you might be running a Performance Max campaign, you might be running some other kind of campaign type. But if you're doing local lead generation, regular search campaigns are kind of a must as of right now. And that's going to be what you want to be running before we get into this. So make sure you're doing that. And if you did launch a Performance Max campaign, that is going to be the first thing you're probably going to want to change. I would not recommend Performance Max campaigns for local businesses because the search traffic is very low quality and that leads to very low quality leads. But let's get into the content here. So obviously campaign name, you don't have to worry about that. It's whatever's relevant to your business. What is important though is this third option here. You see it says Google Search Network. If I open this up, there's two options in here you want to uncheck. So number one is the Google Search Partners checkbox right here. In the past, I would have recommended to leave this checked. But in recent years, Google has had a lot of really low quality traffic come from Google Search Partners. And it's just kind of led to people looking for jobs, people looking for relevant services, all that kind of stuff. And we don't want our ads showing up for that kind of traffic. So we want to uncheck Google Search Partners. And on top of that, we want to uncheck Google Display Network. This is really, really important because it's kind of similar to Search Partners, but on the Display Network where it takes our ads, shows them on a bunch of different websites, and similar to Search Partners, similar to Performance Max, it just generates a lot of low quality traffic. And the highest quality traffic we can get is going to be unchecking all these different options and then making sure our ads are only showing up in Google search, because that's going to be the highest quality, highest intent traffic that you're going to get from your local business Google Ads campaigns. So moving on, we can continue forward here. So budget, this is obviously going to be relevant to your particular industry, your particular campaign. And I've gone over other videos fairly recently going over how to actually calculate your budget. And it's really, really important that if you only have, let's say $25 a day or something like that, and you want to run Google Ads, it's probably not going to be a big enough budget, just transparently, especially if you are in the home service space. Cost per click has gone up a lot in the past handful of years. And in order to really compete on Google Ads, you do need to have typically a larger budget to really make it kind of work in a lot of ways. So budget, this is where your budget will go. This is obviously not a video on budget, so I'll cover that in other videos. Conversion goals, this is really important. So these conversion goals, you actually set them up within your conversion tracking section itself. So if you don't have conversion tracking set up, number one, get those set up. And these conversion goals are actually set up as the actions that I want to track on this particular campaign. So this is tracking phone calls, form fills, and also call extensions. So the people that just tap the phone number on the ad to call, it's tracking those three things. And if I just hop over to conversions, I can show you where this is set up. So I set up my conversion tracking over here. And if we scroll all the way down, we have custom goals, and this is where you would actually create that custom goal. And all a custom goal is you're just selecting what specific conversion actions that you want to track. You create a custom goal, and then you can come back to your campaign, and then we go back into our settings, and then we can, under custom goal, we can literally just set that custom goal as the goal for the campaign. And that's really important because we're telling Google that we want to optimize this campaign around those specific conversion goals. So we want to optimize around the landing page phone calls, we want to optimize around form fills, and we want to optimize around the call asset leads where people just click the phone number on the ad to call us. Then moving along down the list here, we have bidding. So this particular campaign, I've actually only been running it maximize. Well, I've switched between maximize clicks and manual CPC on this campaign. Long story short, I don't want to get into the whole reasons why. It's kind of a lot of nuance stuff with Google Ads, but typically what I recommend is start with a clicks-based bidding strategy. So either maximize clicks, manual CPC, run that until you have like 50 conversions through Google Ads. Some people will say less, some people say more. The general rule of thumb is you want to be getting 20 to 30 conversions within a 30-day window. And then you would actually change this bid strategy to something like maximize conversions. And then you'd set a target CPA to actually try to bid for conversions then. But if you're just starting a campaign, I'd recommend either maximize clicks or manual CPC. Probably maximize clicks just because it's simpler. And then make sure you set a maximum cost per click bid limit like you see I have here. And that is how you want to approach the bidding side of it. I do have other videos uploaded pretty recently going over bid strategies and what's the best sort of approach for generating leads on your campaign. And then as we keep going along here, don't worry about any of this, especially if you're just kind of getting started, the customer acquisition, value rules, all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about it. This is sort of a little bit more rabbit hole sort of stuff. But if you're just running Google Ads for a local business, don't really, worry too much about all this. Moving on, they have the AI Max for search campaigns. Transparently, I do not personally really use this all that much. I know people that have tested this and tested multiple different instances of it, and they've told me that it doesn't really move the needle all that much. So you can turn it on or turn it off. It's totally up to you. For me personally, I don't use it because my whole mindset with Google Ads and just advertising in general is I want to try to retain as much control as possible over the things, like certain creative elements and that kind of stuff. I want to retain as much control of that as possible. So I personally leave this off. Now, when it comes to locations, I'm going to do a more in-depth video on this going forward. But you want to make sure you do a handful of things here with your locations. So if I open an advanced search right here and we scroll in a little bit, the first thing you'll notice is that I try to get more granular with my location targeting. So I target by zip code. In this case, there were certain zip codes that were just kind of too big. So I just did little radii over here. And so what you want to do is you want to be granular with that because that allows you to adjust your bids for the different areas further down the line. And then you also want to exclude the other locations around it. The reason why this is important is this kind of helps to trim down some of the out of location leads and phone calls you can get from Google. So making sure you have that in place is super, super important. And then on top of that, under location options, you want to make sure that you have it set to presence people in or regularly in your included locations. If you select the recommended option, this can lead to people who are pretty much in a totally different state calling your business. And, it might be either, for your service, it might still be a relevant lead. They're just way out of location. So you want to make sure it's people in or regularly in your included locations. And this is all very important for local service businesses because you don't want to be getting calls from another state entirely. So moving on here, we can just cancel out of this. Everything else on this page is pretty self-explanatory. So I don't mess a ton with a lot of this, but there's a certain handful of things in here that I would make sure are turned off. So language is self-explanatory. Obviously, a lot of my clients are English speaking. If maybe you do a Spanish speaking campaign, this is where you would change that language over to Spanish. Political ads, obviously, if this is relevant to you and you're doing EU political ads, that will be relevant to you. So automatically created assets, this is one of those things that I want to have off on the campaign. This has kind of moved around. They have a little notice here, but whether you can turn this on or off, leave it off if you have the option to turn it on. Just leave that off. And there's other sections in the campaign where you can actually turn these off in more detail. I will cover it in other videos, but you want to make sure this is set to off. Start and end dates, don't have to worry about it. Broad match keywords, we want to have this off. Again, we don't have the option to toggle it on and off here. I'm pretty sure they must have moved this to other places. It seems to be tied into the AI Max stuff now, but with broad match keywords, if you turn this on or you have this on, it's essentially telling Google that you only want to run broad match keywords, and they kind of explain it here. It's essentially they want you to use broad match keywords and then go with a conversion based or a smart bidding strategy to try to help you hit your campaign goals or whatever they say. And in my experience, running broad match keywords is going to just drive a lot of low quality traffic, and you don't really want to do it. So broad match keywords, avoid them for the most part. Stick with phrase and exact. Make sure this is off. And then everything else on this list, I wouldn't worry about too much. This option right here, dynamic search ads, you can put in your website or your landing page and it can kind of dynamically create ads based off of that. I don't mess around with this too much. You can test it out, but this is an option here that, like I said, you don't need to worry about it. This is not going to make or break your campaign, and it's really not something that I mess around too much with. And then the only other thing that I leave as default is ad rotation optimize for best performing ads. Technically, you can just say do not optimize, rotate ads indefinitely. And what this is going to do is even if one ad in, let's say, an ad group is not performing as well as the other ad, it's still going to show them both equally. And personally, I would just rather Google see like, hey, that one's converting better, just show the better ad. So I just leave it on optimize, prefer best performing ads. That seems to work pretty well and has worked well for as long as I've been running campaigns. So these are the settings that I like to use. And obviously if this gets updated over time, I will make some other videos about it. But as of right now in 2026, this is what I run in terms of the campaign settings. And hopefully you can take this and then apply it to your campaigns. All right, so that is it for this video. Hope you got a little bit of value out of kind of going through some of those campaign settings. Hopefully it cleared some things up for you. If you are somebody that wants to kind of DIY all of this yourself, down in the description below, I'm gonna have a link over to a free Google Ads course where it's gonna go through everything you need to know to set up, build, optimize a Google Ads campaign for your business. And that is, again, going to be down in the description. If you are somebody who is, let's say you own a local business and you want to run Google Ads, but you don't want to deal with all of this, and you would rather have somebody else set it up and kind of handle it for you, in the description below, there's also going to be a link to a free consultation. And you fill that out, it'll send it over to me and I can see if I can help you out. But in the meantime, I hope you at least got a little bit of value out of this video. If you did, a like and subscribe is always appreciated, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.